Okay. So, yeah, I went to Copan with Stasia, my American friend from Santa Cruz. Um, to Copal and stayed there like 2 nights and spent a day. Copal was a cool Mayan ruin, which is actually in Honduras, right across the border. Um, Lots of pyramids and like little square areas. It looked like it was designed as a school to me. Um, and then took the bus back. It was kind of a long trip, but then I spent a couple of days in Guatemala in one night with Stasia and what's it? This Antigua. Then she went back to, I guess, go to some like hippie party, a rainbow gathering or something, and that was in the lake. But I wanted to spend another day in the city, which is beautiful. So I guess it was a capital at the beginning, with cobblestone roads, and um, it's really touristy. Then I went back and I stayed there like maybe another month or something. Um, and and then left there with my bike with my buddy Glenn and I can't remember his name, English kid. But we partied a couple days in Gringolandia or whatever that town is called in the northeast edge of the lake. But while I was staying in San Pedro, at one point I was actually on acid on my porch. I had a nice house and a nice front yard, all these trees on it. But I was sitting on my porch and I felt a couple days beforehand, the bus drivers drive like crazy in Guatemala. We actually took a bus, me, Glenn, and another Swedish kid, I can't remember his name, to climb the highest mountain in Guatemala. We took the bus up and then got off the bus and then just hiked up to the highest mountain. It was like 13,000 feet. It was above timberline. It's beautiful. And then came down and stayed one night in a hotel and then took the bus back. But the bus was driving insanely fast on the side of the mountain. So fast, it was like 60 miles an hour. So fast, it was actually the wheels were actually screeching as they were going around the corner. And yeah, and while I was in Guatemala, these two buses crashed into each other that were driving around the lake. And I think everybody died in both of the buses. And one of the buses was carrying people who were from San Pedro, Mayans. And we were hanging out at the lakeside, restaurant place, and they carried all the bodies over in the boats, like 50 bodies. And the next day, I was on my porch on acid, and I felt this. I felt a tremor, and then right then started hearing like wailing, and that's when they had the big funeral procession up on the top. That was trippy. And I rode my bike. It was cool having a bike there because I ride it everywhere. Instead of walking, I could get from one side of the town to the other, and the roads were really steep, right up from the road where I lived. So anyway, I left with my friends, and we stayed there for like 3 days, just drinking and partying. And then we took the bus. And it's easy to take a bus with a bike in any country I've ever been to, especially in third world countries, because you just throw the bike on the top of the bus. And we went down to, I guess, into the next town, what was it? The next country to the south, El Salvador. And checked out a couple of towns and stayed in one town on north, I can't remember. And then they decided to go climb a couple of volcanoes. And for some reason, I didn't want to climb the volcanoes with them. I just wanted to ride my bike down to the capital city. And then I tried to ride, and then I rode my bike down to the western side to this beach to do some surfing. It was supposed to be some surf place. Oh, when we were in Gringoland or whatever, there was another tremor that we could felt that lasted like a minute, and I guess it killed a bunch of people. Anyway, then I rode down, and but there were no waves, so I didn't surf. I stayed in a really interesting hotel though. It was like this room on the top, higher than all the other rooms in this hotel, like a tower. I looked all around. I was like the highest building in the whole town. And when I was staying there was another earthquake that I felt. But then I took the bus up again because it was so steep. Probably should have ridden it, but I took the bus up. And then I tried to ride my bike into Honduras, but I rode all the way into Honduras, and they wouldn't let me in because my passport was totally smudged. You couldn't see my face at all. I should have known they wouldn't let me in. I guess it got kind of wet when I was storing it, and there was like an old passport they gave me in Indonesia that it wasn't laminated at all. It was just a piece. It was just my picture glued onto the passport. So obviously it was going to get wet and smudged. So I took it back to the place, and I saw my friends again there. Kind of bumped into them. They're staying right next to me. But I went back to the embassy, and I got another passport. And they gave it to me that day. It's pretty cool. And then, but instead of riding my bike into Honduras, I didn't want to ride the same trail again. So I took the bus, and then I took the bus actually all the way across Honduras. But I stayed a couple of places along the way, a couple of towns, and checked them out. And it was the first time was pretty. Then I stayed in the capital of Honduras for a couple of days, and it was kind of a gloomy place. I mean, it was hilly and stuff, but not a lot of trees, and they did have a hill in the center, but the Hondurans were, I guess, the grumpiest, saddest bunch of people I've ever seen. And the ladies in my hotel stole a bunch of my stuff. But then I took a bus into, what is it called? The island on the east side of Honduras. Oh man, Roatan. And I hung out in Roatan for like a week. I did the scuba class, I guess scuba 2, because I did scuba 1 when I was in Thailand. That was cool. We went off these cliffs and went way down, and we did a wreck dive. And it was a cool place because it was like this big party place. Lots of gringos there partying outside. And then I rode across Roatan. Then I took the bus back to the capital, and then back across Honduras into Nicaragua. And took the bus all the way to the capital. I can't remember what it's called, but it's right on the south side of Lake Nicaragua, which is a big lake, but it was like, it had kind of a weird color to it. And that was an interesting town. It has a very, I guess they had, in the 80s, they had a dictatorship.